it's time for another recent reads video, and I'm probably going to disappoint a lot of you because I DNF'd 2 2023 thriller book releases. So get yourself a snack and or beverage and let's get ready to talk about them. Hello. My name is Nakia. Welcome to my channel. So yes, it is time for another recent reads video, as I said in the intro, and we're going to talk about all the books that I read and DNF'd since we last spoke, which was about a month ago. And spoiler alert, I DNF'd more than I read, but we will get there. I also have a couple of Berenstain Bears books that closed out the summer for me, so without further ado, let's just get on into them. Now, I know that I have a lot of new subscribers. Thank you all so much for joining my BookTube family. But let me tell you how I do my recent reads. I usually start with my DNFs, which I always end up having 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. And I work my way up to my highest rated books of the month, or however long it's been since we last spoke. So we good? Yes. Let's start with the first DNF. First DNF is The Last One by Will Dean. I am very disappointed because this was on my list of most anticipated books for the second half of 2023. I will link it here in case you haven't seen it. It was also on my summer TBR list, so I checked 2 boxes at once. And like I said, this one was very disappointing for me, but that's neither here nor there. Now, in case you don't know, in The Last One, we follow Kaz, who is on a luxury cruise liner with her boyfriend, Pete. And while on this cruise liner, the first night, they have a good night, they explore the ship, all that good stuff. They go to bed, and when she wakes up the next morning, her boyfriend Pete is missing. And then she walks out of her cabin and discovers that everyone else on the ship is missing. So that was all I knew going in, and I was so intrigued. Like, what the hell could have happened to everybody on this ship? This was not described as a horror, so I was like, there clearly was no aliens involved. What is going on? Now, I mean, it took a couple chapters, but it didn't take long before her man disappeared and we were thrust into this whole mystery of what was going on. I thought this started off strong with the action and, like I said, the mystery. She was exploring the ship, trying to figure out if she was truly alone. And I was even like, how could this be? I've already said that, but I just was so baffled. So it had me. I thought this was going to be a winner. And then unfortunately, it just got repetitive and boring for me. Now, unfortunately, that's about all I can say without giving anything away. Like, if you don't want to know anything, then I suggest you skip this next part. I am going to give some mild spoilers, very mild. This is for the people who are fine knowing just a little bit. So this is your warning. I will put a timestamp for where you can jump ahead to find out my final rating and final thoughts, but I just want to discuss a couple things, like I said, that are mild spoilers. So yes, a couple characters got introduced, and that was making it a little more intriguing. It was like, oh, okay, we got somebody else. What's up with this person? We got somebody else. What's up with this person? But then after that, we settled into where I felt like, okay, I don't think anybody else is going to be introduced. And then, as I said earlier, it got repetitive and boring to me. They were just exploring the ship and just trying to figure out stuff. And then it was just a lot of details about the ship. I don't know if this author is very familiar with ships for some reason, or he just did a lot of research and he wanted to make sure you knew he knew his things, but they were just talking about stuff that I don't care about the ship, like the engineering and the mechanics. I just did not care. I was like, I just want to get back to the mystery. And then there were some creepy parts where I wanted to get back to that. Otherwise, I don't care about this. Of course, with other characters, there's like, you know, get to know you stuff. Yeah, that was okay. I just did not find any of the characters likable. The main character, Kaz, she was fine, but she kept talking about her sister and her boyfriend. And I just got to the point, once again, I don't know why, that just drives me bonkers with some of these characters in books where they will just keep talking about a character from their past or somebody they miss. And I get to the point where I'm like, that's enough. They're not in this story, so I don't care. I don't want to keep hearing about this person. So like her boyfriend, I understood a little bit because, you know, he started off the story with her, but we didn't get enough about him for me to care enough for her to keep going on and on about him. Like I said, I want to know what's going on this ship and what's going on right now and why are you stuck and et cetera, et cetera. I don't care about your sister and your boyfriend because he's not here. My other issue with this book was that it was just too long, clocking in at 438 pages. That is another reason why I DNF'd, because I was only like 20% of the way in and I was struggling then. So I was like, there is no way I can push through to 438 pages. I just can't do it. I think also at the end of the day, I just did not care for the writing style. I just think it was not for me. As always, when I'm struggling with a book and I want to know if I'm alone, I go check Goodreads just to see if other people think things that I'm thinking. I don't need to know I'm not the only one to DNF the book. I just want to know, like, am I alone with these issues I'm having? And when I see multiple people have the same issues, and I'm like, okay, it's not just me, we're done here. And one of the reviews I saw said they didn't like the choppy writing and that it felt rudimentary. Sadly, I had the same problem. It's like, I didn't want to say it, they said it, but I agreed. Also, while on Goodreads, I looked up the twist to the book, and I must say, I do think it was a good twist. I wish it was not so long and I could have hung in there with the writing to get to that, but like I said, it just didn't work for me. So I think if you like the writing, if you check out a sample or you pick it up and you start to groove with it and you get past the point that I did, you'll probably enjoy it and be able to get to the twist. But unfortunately, I DNF'd this at chapter 18, page 84. Like I said, I made it to about the 20% mark, which is about average for me when I end up DNFing a book. I mean, some people will say, oh, I'm going to make it to page 50. I got to 84. So I was a good ways into it, but not enough to push through and finish this book. So let's move on to the next one that will probably be painful for a lot of you. Now, this next DNF, I actually have a physical copy here. I got it from my library. I did not say, but the last one I had on my Kindle. I bought it brand new, which is, unfortunate. Money wasted. But anyway, this one I was able to get from my library, and I was not planning to read this book, but I just kept hearing so many good things, and I had already read another book by this author. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna give it a chance. I read a little bit of the sample. I was starting to groove with it. So I was like, we gonna do it. And I'm speaking of The Last Word by Taylor Adams. Some of you probably just clicked off the video. I'm sorry they left. For those of you who are still here, let me explain. Now, I had previously read No Exit like so many of us. I read it at the end of 2020, and for me it was 3 stars. There were things I loved about it, and then there were things that I did not care for that really had to do with the ending, just things that I felt were unbelievable, and there were some things I had some issues with in the book. If I can find the video where I talked about it, I will link it here below. Otherwise, you can always go to my Goodreads and read what I wrote about it, because back then I used to write lengthy reviews. Now, in this one, we follow a woman named Emma who leaves a 1-star review for a book called Murder Mountain. And she ends up having like a little online going back and forth session with the author. When she leaves this review, he comments back and is like, can you take that review down? It's really hurtful to me as an independent author, blah, blah, blah. She's like, hell no, I'm not taking it down. So then we continue the story. And she is house sitting in this remote house that is on Strand Island, which is supposed to be in Washington State. And I loved the atmosphere from that. It was very rainy, storms a brewing, which I loved. I was cozied up in my book like, oh, I had my rain atmosphere on the TV. I was just so into it in the beginning. The book started off so creepy where she was seeing things and thinking somebody was in her room watching her. And like I said, just the atmosphere and her being isolated, but she did have a companion, her dog Laika. Yeah, just her and the dog. And I don't know, I really enjoyed like the mundane things of her getting her coffee and going to the beach, going for walks with her dog. And then there was a neighbor that she would communicate with. So I was enjoying all that. And right before we got to the end of part 1, that is when things started to ramp up. And the way part 1 ended, I was like, oh my goodness, I gotta see what's gonna happen next. Like, I just couldn't wait. And then part 2 kicked in, and this is where the book went downhill for me, unfortunately. We got a second POV introduced, and I just did not like the second POV. It also made the book, just like I said in the first one, repetitive. Also, Taylor Adams did something in this book. I think I remember reading that he has a dog. I think the dog he has is actually named Laika or something like that. I think he put his actual dog in the book. But Emma would talk for the dog. And I mean, those of us who have pets, we do that, and it's funny around the house and when you're doing it yourself. But reading about it, it got annoying to me. So she would be like, Laika, you wanna go for a walk? And then he would put in quotes, no, mom, I don't. And that was done a lot. And like I said, at first it was cute. Then it got annoying. Then of course, I did what I always do, went to Goodreads to see if I was alone with my frustrations. And of course, I was not. You'll probably say, oh, you can always find people who agree with you. Of course. But again, if you're struggling and sometimes you think, oh, I'll just push through because it's probably just me. For me, it helps me to know it's not just me, and that will help me to put it down faster. At least that's me. I just don't want to waste my time when I got other books I can be enjoying. That's the way I do things. So of course, I found some reviews that agreed with things I was saying. Someone said that the book gave them whiplash because it was just so much with the back and forth with the multiple POVs. Like I said, we had Emma's, we had a second POV, and then we also would get some stuff from the dog's POV. It was a lot. There were times where there was not not really any division, no like breaks. It would just go from one paragraph to the next, and then the next paragraph was the second POV or whatever, or the dog just thrown in there whenever. Then on top of that, flashbacks were thrown in because we knew that Emma had a mysterious past, but of course we didn't know what. And so there were flashbacks that were sprinkled in to give you some backstory on her so you could know what was coming later on in the book. Of course, I found out what the spoiler was. Then I found another reviewer who said that this book kind of felt like a joke because it seemed like they were trying to do the Scream thing, be meta aware, which yes, it did. I can't say in what way, but I just didn't jive with that part of it. It just didn't work for me. I think there were things that were supposed to be funny I didn't find funny. So yeah, like I said, unfortunately this one just did not work for me, and it's so disappointing because part one I loved. And with this one, I actually got pretty far. I DNF'd it on page 130, chapter 12. Once we got to part 2 is when I started to struggle, but I still was trying to give it a chance. I think I started skimming some stuff, but I just got to the point where I was like, I can't do this anymore. I even had started chapter 12, but I just couldn't finish it. I was like, I can't do this anymore. I'm done here. So like I said, I found out the twist. I think it was fine. There were some things I liked that I know about the twist, and there were some things that I didn't care for. But do I wish I had finished it to get to that twist? No. Same thing with the first book. That does not change things for me. The first one, I actually do feel like if it was shorter, I would have stuck with it and probably would have enjoyed the twist. This one, no, it didn't really make a difference for me. Sorry. I just think maybe Taylor Adams is not for me because I had some similar issues with No Exit where there were things that were supposed to be funny that I didn't find funny. Also, I don't know, just things just did not flow for me. I feel like, again, I enjoyed parts of it and then there were parts I didn't enjoy. So same thing with this. Maybe I like Hairpin Bridge because that's his lowest rated book. So maybe I'll be the one who disagrees with everyone else. We'll see if I ever read it in the future. If you enjoyed it or you think I might enjoy it, let me know in the comments down below. But for now, let's move on to some books I actually read. All right, so as usual, I had to squeeze in some Berenstain Bears books. If you are new here, Berenstain Bears were a big part of my childhood, so I've been revisiting lots of their books. They've just been very nostalgic for me. Good palate cleansers. They usually just make me smile, so I've been enjoying them. But I will say these two that I have here, I didn't enjoy them as much as the other ones I've read. So I have the Berenstain Bears and the Double Dare, and the Berenstain Bears Go to Camp. Now, I chose these because I thought these would be perfect for summer. We got the watermelons here on the cover of Double Dare, and this one, they're going to camp, summer camp. So again, thought these would be perfect to end off the summer. And in Double Dare, this one just got off to a rocky start for me. It started off with Brother Bear and Sister Bear, Mama Bear and Papa Bear all outside, having a good day. And then it said, because everything was going so well, of course, something had to go wrong. No, no, no. We don't want to be teaching children that. We don't want to be teaching anyone that when things are going well, something's going to go wrong. That's not how things work. So I didn't like the start of that. And then unfortunately, this whole book deals with bullying, Brother Bear being bullied, and like the Double Dare is because he's being bullied. And I just didn't like that. It was just not warm and cozy like I wanted. I usually read Berenstain Bears because they make me smile and I love the illustrations. But like I said, the whole bullying thing, I just did not like. So unfortunately, this was one of my least favorites that I've read so far. And then moving on to the Berenstain Bears Go to Camp. This one starts off on the last day of school. So like I said, it was perfect for summer. Brother Bear and Sister Bear go home for the summer and they're, you know, frolicking outside, and then they end up getting bored, and then Mama Bear tells them she got a flyer in the mail for a summer camp, Grizzly Bob summer camp. So they're like, we don't know about camp, but we'll give it a chance. And they go to camp and they end up enjoying themselves. So I actually was enjoying the book. You know, all the summer camp activities, the illustrations. You know, we got the start of it with them outside with Grizzly Bob, and he has the camp rules that he's showing them. We got summer camp activities. So yes, I was enjoying it. And then unfortunately, the ending went downhill because this did not age well. Grizzly Bob told them that camp always ends with them hiking up to Skull Rock, and then something special is going to happen. And it looked like a skull, so Sister Bear was worried all through camp that like, what is going to happen on this final night? They get to the top of Skull Rock and Grizzly Bob puts on Indian attire, a whole costume. And I was like, oh no. Because I grew up around this time period, I remember how things were back then, and you know, things have changed for the better. But so, like I said, that part didn't age well. And then he said they were going to have a powwow, and he proceeded to tell them old Indian legends of animal spirits. And I was just like, oh no, we were doing so well. So that part did not sit well. And like I said, didn't age well. So because of that, it brought it down. And I also just didn't understand the message of this book. At the very end, Mama and Papa Bear ask Brother and Sister Bear how was camp. And Sister Bear says it was great. And then she says, but you know something? After Grizzly Bob's day camp, school will be like a vacation. So I was like, are they trying to say camp is a good thing or make you're supposed to appreciate school because camp is so hard? Like, do you want kids to go to camp? You want them to like school? I wasn't sure. I was just like, okay. So like I said, this one was just okay, like the other one of my least favorites. But now let's move on to my highest rated book of the month. A lot of you will be happy, I think, but I don't know because a lot of you were waiting to hear what I had to say about this book, but let's just get on to it. And last but not least, we have book 4 in a series. I got through it. I talked about this in my summer TBR video, and that would be Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. I have the illustrated edition here. I get these from my library. I am having so much fun with these books. I did this in tandem with the audiobook, same as I do with all of the other ones because I just love the audiobook narrator. Now, this is a big beast of a book. I think even this illustrated edition is 450 pages long, and it took me a minute to get through it. I will say I did struggle at parts. In the beginning, I was like, okay. We start off with the Quidditch World Cup, and I was like, I don't care enough about Quidditch for this. It took too long to get to it. I'm pretty sure in the movie they get there a lot faster, but in this book, it was chapters. And I was like, I don't care about Quidditch World Cup. I don't care about Quidditch. Can we get to Hogwarts? And we did not get to Hogwarts until chapter 11, page 107. And that is where the book started to pick up for me. Now, just like before, I'm going to discuss some mild spoilers. So I will put a timestamp for where you can skip ahead. I will not spoil many things, but I am going to say some things that if you have not read any of the Harry Potter books, you probably don't want to hear. So I'm giving you your warning now. Now, when I picked up this book, I was wondering what the Goblet of Fire was. And of course, I found out that it had to do with the Tri-Wizard Tournament, which I enjoyed in this book. I realized I do like games and a tournament. My only issue with that is that it was stretched out in this book. Once again, I'm pretty sure it went a lot faster in the movie. I have not watched it yet, but I've heard. But in this book, it was over multiple chapters. It was like a month in between each task. There were 3 tasks. And like I said, it was like a month in between each one. So there was a lot to unpack in between. There was also a big leap in maturity with this book. With this one, we were dealing with some more grown-up things, you know, crushes came into play. And then amongst the 3 friends, there was some tension and some drama that I was not here for. I like them all to get along and love each other. And the issue that occurred between 2 of the friends, it went on too many chapters too long where I was like, y'all need to make up and get this together. I don't like it. But in this book, Dobby came back, which made me so happy. I do love Dobby. He is one of my favorite characters. And then we also got more house elves. That's all I want to say about that. But I just love the house elves. They are so adorable. Also in this book, we got the Yule Ball. The artwork for that alone. When I opened this book, I started to flip through and I just happened to see the artwork for that. And I was like, oh my goodness. Let me see if I can show you. Let me hold this up for you. Look at that. The Christmasness of it all. But of course, that couldn't be all sunshine and rainbows. It created some drama as well. So like I said, it was way more drama in this book. Now, of course, we also were still dealing with Voldemort, and there was all that was going on with that. I won't go into it. But of course, I was itching to get to Voldemort, like physically. Like, can we see him finally? I know what he looks like in the movies, but I need to get to him in the book. And I also found a new favorite character. I have like a top 5 now. And I will say that Mad Eye Moody has snuck his way in there as one of my new favorite characters. I just love his power with that eye and how he always knew what was going on no matter what. You can't get nothing past him. I loved it. Now, as I said, up until this point, the book was kind of dragging for me. Like, there were parts I enjoyed, all the things I just mentioned, but then there were parts that slowed down for me. And I think, again, the drama with the friends and that kind of thing. But what brought this book up for me was the ending. I just got a chill just thinking about it. The way the Tri-Wizard Tournament ended, oh my Lord. I know people said it gets darker from here, and this was the kickoff. Like, I was not expecting all that happened. I was fearful for my Mad Eye Moody for a second. Those of you who've read this book, you know. That's all I can say. Yeah, I don't want to say too much else. I just was devastated by the ending. I'm pretty sure I got teary-eyed because of what happened. Just what Harry saw, just all of it. I can't even say anymore, but those of you who've read it, you know what I'm talking about. The thing is, like, for me, the first 75% of the book was probably like 3 stars for me. The ending was 5 stars. So between the two, I will probably put it at like 3.5, 4. I'm probably going to round it up to 4 because that's just what I do. So this is still not a favorite of mine. It is my favorite ending, but as a whole, it's not my favorite book. Chamber of Secrets is still my favorite, but this ending, oh my goodness. I can't wait to watch the movie. I probably will need some tissue then too, but I cannot wait to get to book 5, which will be coming soon. You will have to stay tuned to find out when, but I will be reading book 5, and I cannot wait to see what happens because the way this one ended, I don't want to know what's coming. I'm scared. I'm scared. So all in all, I mean, I had the most fun with my Harry Potter book. It's so funny because when I was reading it, it took me so long to read it that I was like, when am I gonna be done with this book so I can move on to something else? That was until I got to the part that I really enjoyed. And then as soon as I put it down and I started reading other stuff, I would look over at it like, I miss my Harry Potter book. I just love being in Hogwarts and I love that world. I actually have like a shelf on my bookcase now that has one of my illustrated editions on it and my Hagrid pop toy, which he's back here, over here. One of these days when I get enough new things, I will do an updated bookshelf tour. I will link my other one here. But yeah, that was a highlight of my reading time. So anyway, that wraps up all the books that I have read since I last spoke to you. I actually have a question. Let me know if you would be interested to see me try a chapter of books that you don't think I'm going to enjoy. I've seen some other people do that and I think it would be fun because you never know. Sometimes I pick up books that I don't think I'm going to like The Only One Left, and I end up loving them. And then there's books that other people love and I don't. So like I said, let me know if you'd be interested in seeing that in the future. Also, if you are new here, a new subscriber, please let me know in the comments. I love to meet new subscribers and just get to know you guys all together. And of course, feel free to let me know in the comments any thoughts and comments you have about any of these books. Did anyone else DNF the last word? Am I the only one? Did anyone else DNF the last one? All these books with last in the title, it is a struggle to keep them straight. The last word, the last one, the only one left, that one is one. Doesn't matter, it's too much. And of course, you can let me know any books that you read recently that were highlights for you. I always want to know. Sometimes I go look them up, see if I want to read them myself. And to let me know that you made it this far in the video, and or if you don't have any other comments, you can leave me an emoji and we will go with a dragon or fire, something like that that has to do with dragons. Magic, Harry Potter, whatever you deem necessary. Leave me one of those emojis in the comments below. And of course, all of these books will be linked below as well. And ways you can support my channel are also always linked below. So I think that is it for this video, my beautiful people. So until next time, snuggle up in your hideaway with a good book like Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. Unplug as much as possible. Be kind to all kind. And I will see you in the next video. Bye.